is Muslim. My husband is African. My husband has different food. My husband speaks 4 languages, French, Spanish that he learned in Mexico, English, and his African language, Mandingo. He doesn't like that much spicy food like I do. He doesn't like to go to church with me. I'm Catholic. I like spicy food. We don't want to share religion. He keeps his, I keep mine. We make an agreement how to name our kids, and everything is been working fine. We've dated for 6 years. We're married for 25 years. We have 4 kids, and we travel together for many years now. And what is one of the things that I made me think, if we could make it, why the whole community cannot make it? This night is very important because it's a dialogue. How we can work together. Maybe we are not going to solve problems tonight, but this is a step on finding solutions. We have too many differences, but we learn from each other. It's what I learned with my husband. The day that I decide to go, I will never forget that night when I decide to go to a party, and I know about his community, his strange name, his culture. I love it. I love the colors of his country, and he learned to learn mine. And when you open up to other communities, you learn, you share, and you gain. It's what I gain, the best man in the world. And I think it's what we can do all together, sharing our culture, sharing our passion for things, sharing our differences, and learn from each other, and enjoy each other. That's the reason why we are having this dialogue. I want to introduce Sergio, Alhueta, and Fred, and we are going to start our little dialogue here. Thank you.
First off, buenas noches. I have to tell you that I'm really happy, and I'm really happy for a number of reasons. When we said we wanted to have this dialogue, just so everyone here is aware as to what gave birth to this discussion, the first of what we hope will be many, is the idea that something's got to change in our community. And while, just so that everyone is aware, this isn't unique to Hempstead. Like, this is not a Hempstead discussion. This is what we call the corridor discussion, right? This has to do with Hempstead, Uniondale, Roosevelt, Freeport, Lakeview, communities that are predominantly quote-unquote minority, that have not really learned to sit down with one another and say, let's focus on commonality.
One of the things it's not unique to just Long Island. It's something that's going on throughout our nation, and it's not unique to Nassau County. We know that there's been discussion in Suffolk County about this, but we are at a maturation point, a place where we've matured from a societal standpoint, where we are living in community together, and yet not together as a community. And the whole idea of this conversation is to try and encourage dialogue with each other, not at each other, not talking at folks, but to be able to talk. And I wanted to bring you a clear understanding. It happens to be that we have a large African-American community, a large Latino, Hispanic community. But let me just take you from this place that we call Hempstead to another place, Hungary, the city of Budapest. Do you know that there's been this type of need for dialogue in Budapest, but it doesn't deal with individuals who are African American and Hispanic? It deals with people who are people that call themselves native Budapest folks or Hungarians, and the Romo community. Anybody know who the Romos are? They're the traditional gypsy community. And they are considered to be different, a different culture, a different race, essentially, than their Hungarian brothers and sisters. And they are, in part, subjected to some types of discrimination and separation within their own communities because there has been this lack of information and lack of dialogue. So we thought about talking about common terms, things that we think we know, that we may not all share the same view of what that term may be, or the information may be, because when I say one thing and I assume that you know exactly what I'm talking about, that assumption can lead me to a road where we're not at the same place when we end up to where we end up being.
So one of the things, and please don't think we're trying to minimize anyone's intelligence in this room, but we felt that it was important for us to start with a couple of basics, right? And that's the first thing. The first thing we put on our flyer was come with an open mind and an open heart, right? And we really mean that. There's a lot of discussion around, you know, with a number of things that are going on due to a number of different things going on in the community. But today, it's really about just saying, okay, how do we start building together? Post whatever elections may be coming up, and we're not going to talk about elections today, but May 21st, elections will be decided, things will be decided, and we're still left with this community, with a number of communities, right? So we still need to come together and work together. We still have to say, you know what, we have a lot in common. How is it that people that were brothers and sisters have all of a sudden, you know, not seeing eye to eye on a number of things? So the first thing is that I ask everybody to understand here, we're inside of a place of worship. And a pastor that I admire is, you know, within a few feet of me. So what I can tell you is that I'm coming here with an open heart and an open mind. I want to learn from you. I want to hear from you. I want to know what it is. How is it that you view me as a Latino male? And don't tell me you don't recognize my color. Don't tell me, oh, there's no racism. We all get along just great. No, because that's no different than what the white man used to tell an African American man. I'm not racist. I'm not prejudiced. No, let's be real. These are issues we have to talk about. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is this concept of race, right? What do we talk about when we talk about race? What do you think that means? Anybody?
Anybody, what do you think of race?
Any professors in the room that talk about race can also feel free. We have another, huh?
Discrimination.
Oh, race, yeah, no, but the concept of race, what is race? What is race? When you hear race, when someone asks you what race are you, what are you being asked? The color of your skin, the pigmentation, right? The first thing I want you to know is that biologically, whether you want to believe it or not, 99% of our biological makeup is the exact same. Regardless of what your skin looks like, we are biologically the same, right? So what is it that this issue of race is a socially constructed term. It's something that we've learned while we've been here in the United States of America and throughout the world, but it's a concept that was used to purposefully keep us apart. To say, you have more value than this person. You are less valued than the other person, based upon your skin tone. And again, for those of you that know this, and you may be irritated or whatever, you know, just bear with us. Because not everybody may be as knowledgeable as you are. So we're trying to make sure we all start at the exact same place.
And the concept of race, in terms of how people view it, has also been one which goes from society to society. Because the issue of race, as we are here in the United States, may be very, very different than it's seen in other places across the globe. But the concept of race in our common community has come down to what has been created from a sociological standpoint and based on a historical standpoint on skin color and skin pigmentation. One of the things that we'd like to be able to talk about this evening is not just those things that are apparent. Because even though someone may say that I'm an African American man and Sergio is a Latino Hispanic man, Sergio, what country do your folks come from?
El Salvador.
What country do your folks come from?
Colombia.
What country do your folks come from?
Puerto Rico, which is part of this country, and my father's Italian.
Right. And many of the African American folks in this place don't know what country we came from unless we've really been able to trace roots. So it creates another dynamic which is quite much more complex when we're talking about the issue of race, because we're not just addressing the fact that you're a Hispanic man, you're a Hispanic man with history and culture that precedes who you are and where you're coming from. And that's an important dynamic when we start talking about this issue in a community, because it is not a simple issue. It's a very complex issue. Yes?
I would suggest the issue becomes even more complex when you recognize that not only is there a problem within different races, but there's problems of of discrimination within the same race. And that exacerbates this entire issue.
So that's something that we kind of wanted to chime in on as well. I want everybody in here to understand that race is something that, you know, when you come from a particular culture, it doesn't mean that the issue of race is not real prevalent. Lucas tells you that he's from a place called Colombia, right? And in Colombia, you have different skin tones, different pigmentation, and racism and the same segregation that exists throughout the world exists within that country. And you see it in places like the Dominican Republic. And it's no different than the different divisions that exist with people that come from the Caribbean, right? Whether they're Dominicans, Jamaican, Haitian, all these different issues.